praise be to Allah. Thank you for coming out, Grandma. But brothers and sisters, the shock of the hour, we're in that time. And in this time, this can be considered, it is considered in both Bible and Holy Quran to be a very dark period. And one of the things about darkness is that it restricts you from having the ability to use the normal faculties that you're accustomed to. When you're in triple darkness or a very dark room, you tend to stumble, you tend to bump your foot, you tend to have a lot of accidents that would not have normally happened if you were in the light. So the time that we're living in right now is a very dark period. Don't allow the news to give you these fake images of how good America is, how many jobs we're. This is a dark period, and you can feel it if you're sensitive, brothers and sisters. But one of the most beautiful things that we can have in a very dark time when you can't see is light. Light is that which gives you the ability to see the hurdles and the obstacles and the threats as they're coming at you. Can you imagine being in a pitch black room and you have to cross a major highway while trucks are driving at 90 miles per hour, cars are going at 70 miles per hour? Can you imagine how dangerous that would be? But then imagine yourself in that dark room and there's a little voice in your ear that's saying, take 2 steps forward, Brother Daniel. And I make those 2 steps forward and I hear a car whiz by. Take 1 step back, Brother Daniel. I move 1 step back and I hear another car go by. And if I just listen to that voice and follow that divine guidance that is helping me get through that trying time, I will find myself making it safely to the other side. Well, we have that voice among us today in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he has a beautiful helper in Minister Ishmael Muhammad, his national assistant, who has been crisscrossing this country, doing everything in his power to just share this word to resurrect and wake our people up so they can bear witness that we're living in such a dark time. But today he's going to talk about the shock of the hour because, you know, as a parent, if you ever had children, sometimes you can give them verbal commands and they'll obey. And then a lot of times, specifically for boys, I could vouch for this one personally, right? Sometimes you just have to go a little bit further and shock them to bring them back to where you really desire them to be, which is really in their best interest. So God has to do the same with us. Brothers and sisters, please help me welcome. Stand on your feet as we prepare to hear from Brother Minister Ishmael Muhammad as he prepares to deliver this powerful lecture that we are in need of. So open up your hearts, open up your minds, and be ready to receive this divine guidance by Minister Ishmael Muhammad. Please welcome him on with a round of applause. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the all-wise, true, and living God, the Lord of all the worlds. We thank Allah for His many blessings, His many gifts, His goodness, His mercy to the human family. We thank Him for His prophets and messengers that represented His mercy to the people, that before He punishes, He always raises one from the people to warn, to guide. His mercy was not respected as it should when we look in the histories. Abraham and Noah, Moses, Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The prophets and messengers of God were all rejected by the wicked. Only a few listened, only a few heeded to the warning. And the wicked during the times of the prophets that we read of in the scriptures, they ridiculed and mocked the servants of God, and they called their warnings a lie, until the calamity that the prophets of God warned would come against them for their rebellion came to pass. But then when it came, it was too late. The scriptures tell us that we all are under grace. That suggests that the people are in debt. The people are under sin. The people have earned by their actions, by their works or deeds, the consequences for transgression, rebellion. But grace gives to the people time. Time. Not a long time, but time to correct their behavior before punishment overtakes them. We thank Allah for His intervention in our affairs, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, and for raising from black people in America His messenger, Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was a faithful warner to America and to the wicked. We thank Allah for the extension of His grace through the man that has been a faithful warner to America, faithful to the God and the Messiah whom He represents. I thank Allah over and over again for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Thank all of the students in the ministry who shared on our program this morning. I introduced the title of our subject today last month on the first Sunday of November, but I didn't quite get it over. And the title of the subject comes from the 22nd chapter of the Quran, from the opening verses, shock of the hour. Those of us who have been following the minister's lectures, particularly in the last several months, have heard the minister say, we are at the end. We are at the end. The end of what? When you say the end, you're talking about something that has reached its term, something that had a beginning, and everything that has a beginning has an end. That means that a time factor is attached to that thing that now has come to an end. Everything that has an end had a beginning. And that which exists or is brought into existence serves the purpose of God. Only God is eternal and everlasting. So He, the God, He has no beginning, therefore He has no end. So if we are talking about the end of the world, the question is, what world? When the end of a world comes, my dear beloved brothers and sisters, nations go out. Systems go out. People die. everything of the order of that world comes to a halt. And Allah tells us in the Holy Quran that every nation has a term. It's fixed. Every life has a term. Every prophet has a term. Every prophecy has a term. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, shortly after he stood up to rebuild the nation of Islam, published this wonderful newspaper and was guided by Allah to call it the final call. The first paper published by the nation when the Savior, Master Fard Muhammad, was among us in the 30s was called The Final Call to Islam. All of us have heard, I guess if we were in the club or the bar, final call to alcohol. Bars closing. Get your last drink. And all of us that have taken a flight, been to the airport, you hear the announcement come across. Final call for Delta flight, American Airlines flight, Southwest flight 227 to New York. And when that final call is announced, that means the doors are closing. Wherever you are, if you don't get there, and you get there late, you see the plane taxiing out from the gate. Miss my flight. Maybe you can catch another flight. But here's the final call, of which, when the doors close, there isn't another flight behind it. It is final. So the final call of God from his servant to announce that the warning that was issued by his servant, it's coming to pass. And if the people have not heeded to the warning, have made mockery of the warning, and have not made preparations, then you and I are in trouble. Y'all all right? I want to try to get over a heavy subject in a way that won't be heavy on our hearts and souls. But everyone that is alive right now in this moment, wherever you are on the planet, you know something is happening and something is about to happen. Is that right? You may not be able to put your finger on it, but every human being on this planet, over 7 billion, feel that there's something that's about to happen that is going to produce a great shock. And that the way things are going, it's reached the point that it is irreversible. It's irreversible. This thing has gone too far down the road. But this world of the enemy has been warned and has been given an extension of time. And the time given is up. Before an approaching storm, the alerts and the announcements go out for the people to take measures to protect their homes and store supplies to endure the calamity, or an announcement is made to what? Evacuate. We've seen much of that of late with the extreme weather, with the fires that have hit this country and other places throughout the world that are seeing unprecedented natural disasters. When you hear them describe the storms, the intensity of the storms, the rains, the winds, the floods, listen to how they describe it. Biblical proportions. Historic. Never seen before. Is it global warming? It's a factor, but it's not the cause. It's a factor, but it's not the causative agent. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that the rain, the hail, the snow, and even to the earthquakes are all caused by the Son of Man. Is that what he said? Yes, sir. And these calamities that we see striking America, notice how they are intensifying. As wickedness and evil is intensifying, and the plot thickens among the wicked to destroy and get rid of the world's only and last hope. Y'all with me? Yes, hang with me. There's a chapter in the Quran, the 103rd chapter, is called Al-Asr, the time. And it reads, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, by the time. Surely man is in loss, except those who believe and do good and enjoin one another to truth and enjoin one another to patience. Our faith is going to be tested in this dark hour as the intense darkness overspreads. Faith in the God to deliver the believer. Faith in the promise of God, because in that darkness, evil suggestions are being made and cast into the hearts of the people in firm resolution to cause, as Satan promised, all to deviate. Every time one is awakened and raised, the enemy comes behind the awakened one to put that one quickly back to sleep. He told the God to his face in the Quran, I'm going to cause them all to deviate. Wow. I'm going to come in your straight path. The straight path, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us, is right in the religion of God, right in the truth that God speaks. The devil is always coming behind the word of God, the command of God, with an interpretation. He's always present when God is speaking. And he's always coming behind out of your own desire It's not the devil on the outside. It's the devil on the inside. The minister said these 3 words to the executive council the other day. So powerful. He said, remember that it's only you, God, and Satan. See, the whole journey has always been about you. Your whole life. Who's it about? You. Who do you talk to the most? You. All your relationships, everything, it's all about you. It always has been about you. It always is about you. And it always will be about you. Isn't that something? You. That's why a few weeks ago I said the most important person present today is you. But the you needs somebody. Because everybody needs somebody. So God is always helping the you, the me. And he gives to you one from your own. And that somebody is to help the you and me to succeed in the journey, because you cannot succeed, you can't reach the goal on your own. You need somebody. Thank Allah every day for him giving us that somebody in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his father, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. All praise is due to Allah. By the time surely man is in loss. So if you don't have knowledge of the time that we're living in and what time demands and dictates for your life, you're lost. I'm lost. We're lost because there is no subject and verb agreement. Subject could be you. Subject is God. And the requirements of God, actions that have to be in agreement with God in order to speak, move, act, live correctly and properly. The time demands that every human being come into line or alignment and in accord with the demand that the God is making. So if in grammar, if you don't have subject and verb agreement, you cannot be considered speaking grammatically correct. So if you and I are in the present, and we are, but our actions belong to the past, you're out of sync. And you're wondering why. You don't have balance. You don't have peace. There's more tension, there's more pressure, there's more stress. Because our behavior, our conduct, our actions are out of step with the dictates and demands of the time. And the time of God's presence demands nothing less than righteousness. The more you exert your being, the more you and I strive to be right, we get credit. And whatever wobble that's in our nature, in our life, whatever friction, whatever is troubling us, the more the mind and the heart is set on God and righteousness, our life starts to come into order, and you start having a smooth ride. This earth, 7,926 miles in diameter, with a circumference of 24,896 miles, the third planet from the sun. But it's a smooth ride. You don't even feel it dipping in and out as it's making its revolution around the sun. You only know it's moving because the sun rises and the sun sets. And you know you're revolving because we've gone from one season into the next. But how smooth is the ride? What makes it smooth? Because of a law, order to the motion. And the problem with most of us is that we don't want discipline. We don't want order to the activity of our life. And then we wonder why we have so much anxiety, stress, tension. It's because our lives are not in order. How many of you want a smooth ride? I want a smooth ride on this journey. It's been bumpy thus far. But it all depends on our willingness to submit to the will of God. And His law is so beautiful when you understand it, because His law is for your protection. It's for your and my assurance that we may succeed in the goal of life itself. I better stop there, because everything is another subject. Surely man is in loss, but there's an exception made for those who believe and do good and enjoin one another to truth and enjoin one another to patience. Boy, patience is not something you and I were born with. It's something that has to be acquired. It's a virtue. Unlike faith, faith you were born with. What? Yes. You and I were born, as our great master teacher has taught us, born with faith. Because when the child came out of the womb of the child made a prayer. What? Yes, your first prayer was a cry. But you would not cry unless or except the cry would be answered. There was trust and confidence in the cry, that the cry will be answered. And it was answered. So when you were hungry, you made that prayer, you made that cry. And every human being, no matter what language you speak, we all came into the world uttering a universal language. If you speak Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, French, Arabic, English, it don't matter. Before you learn the language of your people or your culture, you start with white, black, brown, red, yellow, I don't care what child. They all cry the same. Think about that. So we start off with a universal language, then we get confused. The Tower of Babel. With all of these languages, and in the language, in the culture, in our nationality, and these boundaries, we become divided. But then something else happens. You came into the world uttering a universal sound, and you leave with the universal sound. It went from to Isn't that something? Patience. That's where Satan really comes in. Because Satan is always promising what you desire and what the God has promised. But Satan always promises on the basis of instant gratification. I know what you want. I can give it to you right now. But at what cost? What's the price? God is not a liar, but God is building you up and preparing you for the fulfillment of the promise, so that once you receive it, you will have it for your life, not a temporary thing, because he's eternal. But Satan is always propositioning us in our desires. So the exercise of patience, and you cannot have patience without faith. Because faith in God is irrespective of what you know or you don't know. In fact about it, when you think you know, that troubles your relationship in your walk with God. Because you and I have a limited knowledge of things. We do not have a comprehensive 360-degree knowledge on nothing. So Allah introduces himself in the Quran after the opening prayer with these words: I, Allah, am the best knower. I know you know something, but you don't know it all. So I need you to have faith in me and be patient in the things that come into your life and the things that I do that defy your understanding of things. Be patient. And in your patience and in your obedience, the understanding that you seek will come to you, but only after obedience and submission. So in a time like this, the believer is to enjoin their fellow believer in patience, because the believer knows that God is not a liar. Y'all all right? And the truth that has been revealed to us from our Lord, the believer believes in it, though they do not have the understanding of it in its entirety. but I believe. And I have faith in the God who revealed it to his servant. And I will not let the smart, crooked deceiver, as Paul said, separate me from Christ with their own interpretation of what the God has revealed. I believe in it. And that's all I need. And I have enough evidence and proof of what he has given. The parts that I cannot understand, Allah in his good time will give me the understanding that I see. Elijah, Muhammad, and Louis Farrakhan are not liars. The minister said that in this Quranic chapter, time is a yardstick of measurement of consequence. By the time, surely man is in loss. So the time will determine, number one, whether we lose, whether we win, whether we live or whether we die, or whether we suffer privation or whether we grow in prosperity. It all depends on what we do with the knowledge of the time once it has been given. The minister spent nearly 2 years in a series-long broadcast that started in 2013. And the title of those broadcasts were given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the title was The Time and What Must Be Done. Solomon tells us that there's a time and a season for every activity under the sun. There's a time to be born and a what? Time to die. A time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to kill and a time to heal. Wow. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to love, a time to hate. A time for war, a time for peace. What time period has the world entered into? Evidently, it's a time of hate. And it is a time for love. There's a time for war, but it also is a time for peace. Wow. There's a time now for the plucking up and the tearing down of what has been planted. And what has been planted in the earth is the wickedness of the devil. God now is plucking up their world. Their whole world is tearing apart. And if you love this world, be careful that you don't become an adversary or enemy of God, because he wants no part of this. This is not his world that he gave his one and only begotten Son or beloved, that whomsoever believes in him shall have eternal life. The world that he gives this servant for is his world of righteousness. And he gives that servant's son to the world of sin and wickedness to offer them an escape and a way out. But he intends to destroy this world, leaving neither root nor branch. That once it is gone, it will be gone forever. and a world like this that has never been, and a world like this will never come into existence again. It has served its purpose. So in the book of Daniel, it tells us in the first verse in the 12th chapter that there shall be a time of trouble such as never since there was a nation even to that same time. So we, my beloved brothers and sisters, and the world we know has entered into a great time of trouble. And our beloved minister has said, and the United States of America in particular has entered into that great time of trouble that the prophet Daniel was speaking about. The minister has said that when we speak of a time of trouble, we're speaking of a time of great adversity, great difficulty, great stress and pressure. A time of a great veil of tears, annoyance, irritation, aggravation, betrayal, affliction, curse, woe, and distress. The pressure on the people's minds is so great. And that's why you're reaching for this, you're reaching for that. Because the pressure of the time is creating an imbalance in the mind. And when there's so much stress on the brain, then the brain is depleted of chemicals to give the body and to regulate the body properly. So you're reaching for substances to substitute for the depletion of chemicals that the brain naturally produces. So now you have a pharmaceutical industry and a medical profession that is just selling and offering more and more drugs for everything. Back in the day, it was just Pepto-Bismol for indigestion. Huh? Now there's a pill for everything. A pill so you can sleep better at night. A pill so that you can be more active. A pill to give you some energy. Huh? A pill for hypertension, high blood pressure, anxiety, depression. Never was there a time where you would see the pharmaceutical industry advertising their drugs on television so that you now can go to your doctor and say, hey, I saw this on television. Now, he may give you the warning that, went by so fast. Risk can be diarrhea, pain, cramps in all joints, and in some cases, possible death. Damn. That's what they tell you. A pill for everything. Because the masses of the people are disconnected from the source of their life, which is God Himself. This is Satan's world. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his article in the Final Call the week before last, said, America is confused. He said, in the mind of most ignorant people, there is no doubt that we're living in the great time of trouble that was predicted by Jesus and other prophets of the Bible. They are so confused until they are frantic. I write this because of my black people who are in the crossfire. Do you know that your brother Elijah Muhammad was your best friend? Did you hear what I said? Elijah Muhammad was the best friend of the black man of America and black and darker people all over the world. Brother Farrakhan right there with him. Because a friend is deeply concerned about the well-being of his friend. Is that right? A good friend is always trying to help you and keep you from avoiding mistakes or making choices that's going to bring a lot of anguish and a lot of pain and a lot of disappointment in your life. Elijah Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan, not only are they the best friend, but they are the only friend that the black man of America has in this time of trouble. Our friend and brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, wrote, quote, "My black people are ignorant of the time and what will come to pass. They're ignorant of what will continue to come to pass in the great time of trouble. They are ignorant of the diverse misunderstanding of the heads of the nations. And if the heads of the nation is confused and cannot agree together on anything constructive for the people, then the people suffer. As it is written, the wicked ruler causes the people to suffer." The Messenger of Allah said to us, the outlook is bad. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it will become worse and more worse than what we see and experience at the present time. Jesus said that there would be what? Wars and rumors of wars, pestilence and famines and earthquakes in various places. But he said that's just the beginning of sorrows. Wow. Nation is going to rise up against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Brother is going to betray his own brother. Children will rise up against their parents, and children will put to death their parents, and parents putting to death their own children. Have we not entered into that time that the Bible has warned us of? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, anger is rising among the wicked. Their spirit is nothing but anger and dissatisfaction. There is no agreement. The wicked rise up after you who are at peace, and they seek to destroy you. As David said in his Psalms, they give the appearance of friendship, but in their hearts they have daggers for you. I hope we won't get fooled again in this next election with another false offer of friendship when none of these candidates ever speak to the hurt and the pain and the suffering of black people in America. Why should they get our vote? So now we're being courted again to choose one of the evils. I won't even say the lesser of two evils. Evil is evil. And we are going to be now, once again, courted to choose between Lucifer and Beelzebub. Choose the devil or Satan. Look how foolish we look, voting for what we know is wicked. Don't you tell me that things would have been different if you had gotten Hillary on the Hill. Crooked Hillary, lying Trump, They do not have black people's best interests, and that's what Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan have been telling us all these years. They don't care about us. We had our own brother. What did we get from his 2 terms in office? Nothing. This is the white man's world. Did you hear what I said? You better wake up. He never intended for you to have freedom, justice, or equality. He never intended for the slave to have equal rights. And whatever he gives, there's always a string, a hook, and a trap attached to it. So he gives us the 13th Amendment. But if you are duly convicted, look at the words of a crime, then you go back to your former state. And that's why you can serve 20, 30 years in the penitentiary. And you come out and your rap sheet, your offense follows you throughout the free society. And you're still a felon. This is not the world of God and his son, Jesus Christ. This is the world of Satan and his son, the devil. And that's why the Bible tells us love of this world is enmity with God. You love the world and you love the devil because the devil gives you nothing. God is here with his messenger to give you something, to offer you freedom, justice, and equality. And we turn that down to still be the footstool of our enemy. And he comes to make you think that you are what you are not. Anyway, this anger that we see rising among the wicked, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes about, is found in the book of Revelations. The nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, thy wrath, and it's capitalized because it's the God now who's on scene. His wrath has come. And that scripture further says, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. Now God's wrath has been kindled. He's angry. And his anger, the minister has said, is strong and vengeful. It's retributory, punishment. For many offenses, it's the beginning of a divine chastisement. And what kindles the anger of God is not the wickedness and the evil that they do, but it is the evil that they plan against the man that he has set among them. Bear with me. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says about this wickedness and anger that's rising up, he said the wicked rise up right in your families. Members of your families rise up against you. Wicked sons and daughters rise up against their parents. You cannot treat them kindly because they have no place for kind treatment in their hearts. That is painful. They will rob and kill you if possible. A robber is a murderer, for if you catch him at his game, he thinks that you will kill him, so he sets out to kill you. The world, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad concludes, is wicked to the core. In the book of Luke, it tells us that there shall be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity. The sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. When we say, or the scriptures tell us, perplexity, it means great confusion. You see the confusion among those that are entrusted with the responsibility of leadership. Look at them argue and go back and forth. What is being set up? You see a house that is divided against itself. The country is polarized. Trump isn't the root of the hatred. Trump just drew it out because it was masking itself with a smile here and a grin there, with hypocritical tricks to make black people to think that their 400-year-old master, slave master, all of a sudden wants friendship with you. Talk to me. But a faithful servant among us. And this is how you know that you got a man of God among you. Listen to me. Your Bible tells you, if you want to test the man, to know if the man that is among you is from God, then test him in this way. If what comes out of his mouth does not come to pass, you don't have to worry about him. You don't have to pay him no mind. If what comes out of his mouth comes to pass, then you know that man has not spoken presumptuously. He hasn't spoken out of vanity. But what he says is from God, for he is of the Lord. You tell me one thing that Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have said to us over the years that we have not seen unfold before our very eyes. Talk to me. Did not the minister tell us during the first and second term of Obama that the white man was going to take off the mask of civility? Did he not say it? And that he was going to reveal his raw and brutal nature. Talk to me. Did he not say there was going to be the peeling back of the onion? All Trump did was draw out the raw hatred that is in a number of white people for your very presence. Now they're emboldened to spit on you again, call you a nigger to your face, slam you down like they did to our brother. Want to say he said something offensive, but when he slammed them to the ground, see, that's all that you see in their brutality is the hatred that they have for you. This is not racist teaching. This is the truth, and you're living it every day that you stay with white folks. Don't get upset. Let's just reason. It is written in the Bible during the time of Moses and Aaron, the children of Israel, the people of God, they began to murmur among themselves. What were their murmurings about? Their murmurings was against Moses and Aaron. You know how we are with each other. We don't have no respect for each other. Talk to me. So the God said he would curse them with fiery serpents. Ooh. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the fiery serpents represent the hatred of white folks. See, now them snakes, they biting, huh? They shooting us down, hanging us, lynchings going on. Oh yes. But what is it all to force? It's to force you and force the modern children of Israel, the people of God, to separate from them, because separation is the only solution to the problem between white and black. Do you know that not only is the country divided, but the government is divided? Our houses are divided. Our families are divided. So the Bible tells us that a house divided against itself, it what? Cannot stand. The enemy is in our house, the Nation of Islam. He wants to make mischief. He wants to feed on the dissatisfaction that's in the house. A lot of the dissatisfaction could be legitimate, but how you handle your dissatisfaction, you got to be careful that you are not used as a tool of the enemy to destroy your house. The enemy always looks to foster legitimate dissatisfaction. And since he programmed us with self-hatred, it don't take much for us to turn on each other. So the enemy is always looking to pit brother against brother. He always looks to magnify our differences, our disputes, and to keep tension among the brotherhood so that we will never find common ground. Everything that we see happening over in the Middle East with Islamic nations, he's working on the nation of Islam in the West. But he will not succeed. He will not succeed. There will not be revolt in the house of God. The minister wrote that disappointment and dissatisfaction precede treachery. And when you become so absorbed and consumed with your personal disappointments, your personal pain, it blinds you to the cause. It blinds you to the thing that you have sworn to protect. Whatever differences we have, they are not so great. Listen to me. What you think, or even what has been done to you by your own brother or sister, does not make that brother or sister the likes or the equal of our open enemy. We are turned against each other out of our ignorance and misunderstanding. And that's why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, having a heart after the heart of God himself, always reaching for the better you and the better me, and never settling on the worst part of ourselves, but always feeding, always seeking the better you, the better he, the better she. Because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So the Jesus, he looks beyond our faults. He sees the need. He understands the circumstances out of which we have become bitter and hateful. But remember what I said in the beginning. It's you. It's always been about you. And in the final analysis, as you do all of this, you still have to deal with the biggest elephant in the room, yourself. So patience in an hour like this, where dissatisfaction is being used, see, by the enemy. I'm headed towards the conclusion, don't worry. Disappointment and dissatisfaction precede treachery. Judas became disappointed in his master. Thing that's so interesting about these dynamics is that the disciple or the student or the helper of the man of God knew nothing of God, the mission, nothing before they were introduced to it. Now all of a sudden the student thinks he's the equal of his master. Now the student thinks he can judge the master. Judas didn't think, after his long walk with Jesus, that Jesus was making steps to fulfill the goal of the mission. So he judged his master. And that's exactly what we do. Because the way we are, we smile with each other. And we be rolling, we be kicking it. But in the back of our heads, we walk with each other and we walk with the man of God with doubt and suspicion. Y'all all right? So ignorance, the minister said, or knowledge can save the ignorant one among us, the unwitting one. But those among us that are moved by envy cannot be turned aside by knowledge. So this darkness that the Quran speaks of that overspreads, we lifted up the evil suggestions that are cast in firm resolution, but it also tells us seek refuge from the evil of the envier when he envies. My God, that disease is such an ugly, crippling, debilitating disease. Because once that sets up in the heart, and you think that your brother or your sister have or are in a position where you feel you belong. Jeez. And if you notice, you ever saw the movie Mozart? Amadeus? It's an old movie, y'all probably don't. I ain't even heard of it. But the gifted ones of God, if you notice, it just flows. I saw and was privileged to see a most gifted one among us last night in our brother Rakim. Y'all know him? Y'all don't know him. Y'all ain't old school. This brother's brilliant. He's called the greatest lyricist of all time. Conscious. Rakim. It just flows. And I was blessed to be there with my wife and some of the brothers. And I was just sitting there and then standing, you know, 'cause I remember some of the tracks, you know. And I was just admiring the gift of God. And the thing about the gifted ones, they may do some corny, silly, outrageous things. And the person that's looking at them, you know, try to figure out, this dude, he doesn't even apply himself. He's not in the gym. He's not at the desk study. And when he gets up to present and perform, it just flows. And the person that's doing it, it's natural. They can't help themselves. They do apply themselves. But I'm speaking now of the person who envies another person. And what you don't realize is that what you see manifested from your brother and sister is a reflection of God, and it's a reflection of you. If you honor it, praise it. Huh? You got a gift. You are not cheated. It's just that your gift may not be my gift. I may want to sing as beautifully as you and may take all the lessons and really apply myself, but damn, you just got it. So what do I have to do? Surrender, submit, and say, Lord, I praise you and my brother and sister. Maybe I can compliment them as opposed to trying to compete against them. Maybe I can lend my gift to that brother or sister's gift, all for the glory of God. Isn't that wonderful? All right, man. You remember when the minister, before the election in let's see, this is 3 years. What year was that? 15? 16. Do you remember? It was in October. And of course, the elections, I think, were 2 weeks later. And his subject was, if Satan cast out Satan. It's coming from the scriptures. And is divided against himself, how then can his kingdom stand? That's what's happening. Firings after firings. Now here comes an impeachment hearing. He's only the 4th president, but this one is totally different from the previous 3. Clinton was over some real estate thing, and then they probed further and brought Monica Lewinsky. Y'all remember that? Before Clinton, it was Nixon, and that was bad. And then I think before him, who was that president? William, who? It was Andrew Johnson. Thank you, sir. But the thing about Trump that's different from Clinton, Nixon, and Andrew Johnson is that each of these presidents appear to have respected the institution, the division or separation of powers. But Trump is king. He has no respect. And what you see happening, as the minister has said, he's dismantling their whole institution. He's already supporting the military and law enforcement. What for, Mr. Trump? Because this man is ready to go as far as his opposition force him to go. Oh yeah, this thing is getting serious because war is on the horizon. The minister has been warning us from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that it's coming. We're at the end of the beast. Here is wisdom. He that hath understanding. Notice you got to have understanding to calculate the number of the beast. For it is the number of a man. His number is 666. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that he was given 6,000 years to rule. It took 600 years to graft the Caucasian out of the original people. 60 years grace was given as an extension of time. Bear with me now. We said everything that has a beginning has an end. So in the intervals of time, from the beginning of the white race to today, the minister said, 6,000 years afterward, when their time was up in 1914. It's interesting that clock said 1141. I'm about to go to 1941 too. This year, 1914, all of Europe went to war with self during what? You remember? World War I. And in 1941, during World War II, Japan attacked America. Now Japan was goaded, the minister said, quote, into such an attack. But the whole world was involved in what? War. And after the Second World War, America never called conflicts war again. When the fighting in Korea came up, that was a police action. When the fighting in Vietnam came up, that was a civil war between North and South Vietnam, wherein America intervened. But everything that has happened from 1914 to 2019 has led us to the approaching hour of the day. Y'all with me? Why the hour? If you're in the day of judgment, and a day has 24 hours, and 24 is divided 3 times by the number 6. So at a certain point, you come not only into the day, but you come into the hour, and it's a fateful hour that the Holy Quran tells us, "O people, keep your duty to your Lord. Surely the shock of the hour is a grievous thing." The day you see it, every woman giving suck will forget her suckling, and every pregnant one will lay down her burden, and you will see people as drunken, yet they will not be drunken. But the punishment of Allah will be severe. It's a grievous thing. Grievous is defined as causing or characterized by severe pain, suffering, and sorrow. Grievous is used to describe horrible things like tragedy. Shock is a sudden event that comes into your life out of nowhere. And it causes emotional disturbance, and that disturbance in the equilibrium of the brain causes the blood circulation to be interrupted. It's trauma now. Y'all all right? Some of us have experienced the shock of a car accident. You're driving, you're passing the intersection, and out of nowhere, bam! Nothing really prepared you for it. The phone call of the loss of a loved one that you just saw, you just had turkey with. Not literally. But we walk with each other today. We appear to be all right. Next thing you know, you get a text, you get a phone call. I'm sorry to inform you. Such and such was in a car accident. Such and such just had a stroke, a heart attack. That's a shock. See? It's a sudden, upsetting, or surprising event or experience. Bear with me, give me 15 more minutes. Here, Allah is telling us about a sudden, upsetting, or surprising event. It's going to be a shock. The severity of that event is going to cause every woman giving suck to forget her suckling. Boy, that's something. When you go into the Arabic of this word shock, in Arabic it's zalzala, which means originally he put him in a state of commotion or agitation. I'm going to try to settle myself because I don't want you to miss these final words. So I don't want to get too excited and miss over things. The word is used in connection with wars, implying a casting of terror into the heart. And zalzal, which is the plural of zanzala, means difficulties, trials, and afflictions. So this shock could refer to war, calamities that are going to strike suddenly. When they go to war, it may not be something where the American people are made to know in advance that the soldiers and the troops are moving against an enemy. It's just going to happen. It'll send everyone scrambling. Then you have war as a shock, a sudden, unexpected, surprising event. But then you've got natural disasters and calamities that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us, brothers and sisters, was going to come. And we see it. We see it. It's happening. And it's going to intensify. Therefore, as the Messiah in the Quran, he's teaching the people what foods to eat, what foods to store in their houses, because there's going to be a day where there will be an interruption of the food supply. And if you haven't taken measures, look, this is serious. I don't tell this to you to frighten you. Tell it to you so that you can prepare your families and your neighborhood and your apartment buildings and the blocks, so that we are not caught by surprise. It's the blow you don't see coming. That's the one that knocks you flat on the canvas. My dear beloved brothers, we're talking about judgment. In this case, we're talking about God, who has formed a decision that comes down against America and against this world of evil. God has already sent down his decision, and his intention is the total destruction of what we call America. Listen, not by us, not by human hands. They're on the brink of anarchy right now. They're about to send this country into civil war. They've always feared black folks rising, always feared revolution coming from blacks. Now they got to prepare against their own white brethren who are angry and dissatisfied. This thing is about to get so ugly. And that's why they're preparing for martial law. They're preparing concentration camps. They've been moving all along towards a fascist state. This is serious. The question is America good? And by what standard do you measure her? Because if America has exceeded the limits, and she has, she's been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Everything that America has sown of evil all over the world, there's a law that you and I cannot escape. That's why you got to be careful of what you think and the things you do, because you and I reap what we sow. And the law of justice is, as thou hast done, so shall it be done unto you. The only thing that gives us an escape from the consequences of our evil is the turning to God and asking for forgiveness. For it is only Allah God who can protect us against all of our faults. And when you turn to him, asking him for his forgiveness and atone for your evil, your wickedness, and your sins, then the God turns to the offender mercifully. You don't think that we got a price to pay, brothers, for the mistreatment of our women? Talk to me. You don't think there's a price that we got to pay for what we have done to our daughters? Talk to me. You don't think there's a price to be paid for our killing of one another? Talk to me. That we shed each other's blood, and that blood is sacred from the God himself, that God will not answer and exact retribution. So all of us stand in need of God's mercy. Pimping our women, putting them on poles. Talk to me. Taking sexual pleasure and favors from them in the time of their need. It sickened me the other day hearing an advertisement on the radio for you to come as women to try out for a gentleman's club. I said, damn, this thing is just all open now. No, look. We've lost our moral bearing. When God raises a messenger, he raises for the people a standard by which the people can measure their behavior against. But when the wickedness becomes so gross and we begin to reject it, and our disobedience and our rebellion becomes willful and blatant. Did you hear what I said? Willful. Because that's the way we do sin today. Huh? No shame, no sense of guilt, full of pride. So the God says, okay, fine. I know what the hell you need. Mama been too kind to yours. I got some for your backside. You can't even reason with that mind anymore. I'm going to do what I'm going to. Okay. See, you can't say you don't know. There was a time when the moral standard would have us to feel a sense of shame. Am I right? Not today. It's like, yeah, I know it. And the wickedness of the people reached a point that the Quran says that they said to the prophet, bring down on us what you threaten us with. Damn. The shock of the hour is a grievous thing. So I close with this. War is a shock that produces trauma. And this war will end all wars. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, America's power will be broken in war. The drum beats of war, it's everywhere now. Russia, she's swole with pride. China, powerful. The nations are angry. And God is calling them. Prepare for war. And in that war, brothers and sisters, it's not going to be good. The messenger said it won't be a long one. It will be a short one. But I end with this one. Took me all this time to get to this. The shock of the hour, as we have said, deals with war and calamities, but there's another event that is involved in this shock of the hour. Of all of the prophets of God that left the scene, the greatest shock to the people was not the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Although it was surprising and it grieved them much, but the prophet was ailing among them. He was weak from what many had said was the lingering effect of a poison that was introduced into his bloodstream. And it weakened him over time. The loss of the prophets throughout the history had a great effect on the people, no doubt. But the one prophet or servant of Allah that produced the greatest grievance, shock, and surprise was the crucifixion of Jesus. Now, brothers and sisters, see, you don't know, we don't know what the minister really represents. His presence is the mercy and grace of God. And Allah says in the Quran, He would not chastise them as long as his messenger was among them. He does not want to leave his people. He knows it's going to be a severe chastisement. But the God says, look, come. Jesus was telling the people all along where he was going. Give me my mic. I mean, may I please? I shouldn't say it like that. May I please have the mic, sir? Thank you. I'm done. Jesus kept saying, I'm going to the Father. And I'm going to the Father so that you will know that all that I have shared with you is from him. I've been telling you about the Father. I've been telling you I'm not here of myself. I'm here because of him. He's absent, but he's not dead. He's absent, but he's real. And I have given to you faithfully what the Father has given to me. And I'm not a robber. I have not taken the credit for myself. And he says it's expedient for you, not for me, for you that I go. Wow. And I go so that you will know. That's the critical part. Because I've been representing him to you all this time. And I'm telling you that where I'm going is to the Father. I'm not going to the grave. There is no death for me in this time period, though I have reached a term where grace is up. Good God Almighty. I have fought the good fight. I have kept the faith. And for me is laid up a crown. But he couldn't leave until Christ was formed in the people. Not all of the people, but those that are faithful. They have his word, but they need the character necessary to stand the ground when the Satan that has ridiculed me, lied against me, spoken all manner of evil, he's going to come against my faithful followers. Don't worry, the faithful will not be defeated by the Satan. Read about it right there. In fact about it, the God does not take his messenger except he already knows that those that are left behind can stand their ground for a short time. Y'all with me? Oh, yeah. But it's still a shock of the hour. Jesus said the hour is come. And what is the hour? It's the hour that I'm delivered into the hands of the enemy. People heard him, but they kept saying, oh, he don't have to go through that. But Jesus already knew that he had to go to the cross. Oh, God. His deliverance into the hand of the enemy and his ascension is what proves that the God and his Father are the only reality. Did you hear what I said? Louis Farrakhan has been teaching among us for 43 years. Is that right? 77 years, 43 years. We're going into the 43rd year. And of the 43 years, in 1981, after 3 years of his rebuilding, he made an announcement. Now, I may lose all that probably were with me up to this point, but damn it, you gotta know. excuse that expression. He made an announcement on the occasion of Savior's Day that Elijah Muhammad is alive. Now, why would he need to say that? If saying that, nobody believes that. So a man would not say that if he was trying to make something of himself. He has everything to lose, but everything to gain. Do you hear? Listen. Brother Farrakhan has been consistent all of these years. Am I right? Who has he represented to us? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is that right? Everything that he has warned the government, everything that he has said that has come to pass, God has been with you and my brother all along. You knew it when he called 1 million men to Washington, D.C., that man was anointed by God. What that man has done, no man before him has done. Now the enemy is coming because they can't have Farrakhan out here speaking the way he speaks, or us that believe in this truth, knowing that when they go to war, they're coming after you. You, young brother, they want you on the battlefield. And this is a war that they will go by the tens of thousands and come back in body bags by the hundreds or the few. That's how bad this war is going to be. So as it was with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1941, by executive order of the President of the United States, Roosevelt, Elijah Muhammad was arrested. You got to understand that when the highest powers of the land take your brother up from the street, and there was no crime that he committed, he was already too old for the draft. But they could not allow Elijah Muhammad to teach on the streets what he was teaching when they were prosecuting a war and they were looking for your young bodies. Talk to me. Because we as Muslims do not believe in taking the life of another human being that Allah has not ordered. We won't do that. We are conscientious objectors. And Muhammad Ali stood his ground and won all the way up to the Supreme Court justice. Y'all with me? So Jesus was arrested, wasn't he? Has not the minister said they coming? Some of us say, oh. See, time tries your faith. I've been saying it for a long time. God gives you enough time to prepare for what's about to happen. But still, the shock of the hour is a grievous thing. It was at the behest and the urging of the Jews that forced the hand of Pontius Pilate. Y'all with me? Pontius Pilate tried him. He didn't find any fault in him. But the Jews, they said the penalty in our law is death. What was the charge that they leveled against Jesus? Blasphemy. But they got Jesus into the Roman courts with the law
or the charge of sedition. I'm just giving you a preview. And it's not me giving it to you. I'm just reminding us of what the minister has already said and shared with us, because we are coming up against that fateful hour. And that's why enjoin one another to truth, enjoin one another to patience. Be patient, believer. Hold the line, stand your ground, and stand down. And don't let your emotions get the best of you, because we're about to come into something. The crowd that the Jews organized that called for Jesus' death. I'm not going through the whole thing, but the main events. It wasn't the masses. The masses were not in the court. It was a small crowd that the Jews organized that called for Jesus' death and crucifixion by the cross. The masses of the people were shocked. They knew Jesus. They knew he was a good man. They were the beneficiaries of his good. But the false propaganda and the way the enemy had leveled the charges made the good people who had heard his message, knew him as a good man all of the life that he lived among them. Yet in that faithful hour, they were silent. The disciples, they appeared to be so faithful, didn't they? But all of a sudden, they abandoned the master in that hour. He's put on a cross. He's exposed. Just a little cloth there. Exposed meaning the man has been transparent. Nothing to hide. That's Farrakhan, man. We've been blessed with a good man. And how dare some of us speak evil against a man that has only worked for your good and worked for the good of your future seed and generations. You should be ashamed of yourself. So my brothers and sisters, forgive me if I've taken too much of your valuable time. But if you don't know the time, surely you are in loss. It's all about to go down. Not because I said it. It was already said by God and the servant of God in our midst. It's gonna go down. The people that looked at all of this go down, and because he spoke of the Father, but yet he told them in that faithful hour, this night all will be offended by me. Gee. What is the offense, Jesus? See? Patience. Patience on the deliverance. Because in that moment, it did not appear as though his father came to rescue him or deliver him or save him. That's why a believer doesn't walk by sight. A believer walks by faith. Because the sight in that day and in that hour will become confused. A believer relies on their faith in the Word And the promise that Allah gave to them in spite of the circumstances, in spite of the conditions. Faith. So when the soldiers said, well, maybe Elijah. Why did they mention Elijah? He calls for Elijah. Maybe Elijah will bring him down. Elijah must be his father. See, all the scriptures, they're there. You may look at them as some religion. No, no, no. It's a writing in advance of your and my birth and the circumstances around us. They were written far in advance. Now, when you start or events and circumstances begin to manifest, unfold, and fulfill themselves, then you know, uh-oh, this right here is real. Don't you know that your future and my future rests in the hands of God and his messenger? You don't have no future in the hand of that white man. No, sir. God has to go to war with the enemy. All of this is really about you. It always has been about you. So God is working out the salvation of his people. And the man that he's given to us in the minister is your and my best friend. He has been a brother to us. And he is willing to give his life. I don't know no other black leader. Do you? Hell no, because there ain't one. Ain't nobody willing to give their life for your and my future? No. But God has given us one. So the shock of the hour. It's a grievous thing, but it's a great thing. You know why? Because those who believe, see, the Bible, Jesus says, see, when you see all these things happen, lift up your head. Lift up your head, because your redemption draws near. His ascension represents our ascension. His deliverance represents our deliverance. See, it's all about you. It's not about him. It's about you. And because of our condition, God had to intervene. See, can I just close on this point? See, he is because you are. He came because of our condition. Talk to me. It has always been about you and your cry by reason of your taskmaster is what caused God to visit Egypt. Can't you see that it's all about you? Can't you see it's not what the enemy wants you to think? Are you gonna go follow a leader to be a slave? Yeah, you gotta follow a leader, all right. But the leader here is not about making slaves. The leader here is about empowering you. And the best that you see in him is a reflection of the greatness that is in you. For he serves to bring out the better you, the better me, the better us. For ye are all God's children of the Most High God. But somebody got to pay the price for your and my redemption. So it's a great and a dreadful day of the Lord. Let us quickly come out of the valley of decision and choose what we know is right. But Brother Farrakhan, black people need to resolve that when they come for our man, we will not sit back silently. Listen, I'm not saying tear down your neighborhoods, burn them up. No, sir. It's just that we have lost so many. And therefore, we as a people who have been the beneficiary of all of these luminaries, and we know the goodness of a man who has served us, then we should stand strong and stand tall and stand bold and stand united, because that is our brother, that is our friend, that God has given to us in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we are Farrakhan, and we love our Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you for listening as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Thank you. Whew. I finally got it out. I hope and pray and thank Allah for the privilege, and also to forgive me if I made any mistake or used language that was beneath the dignity and the wisdom of what Allah, God, has revealed to us. I love you, brother. I love you, sister. And I really want to see us get through. And I know we can. I believe it all in my heart. We can make it together. Together, united, together as brothers, as sisters. How many of you are here for your first time today at Mosque MARYAM? Can we recognize you by a show of hands? My beautiful sisters, welcome. My strong brothers, welcome, welcome. How many of you believe that what you heard this morning to be the truth and good for our people? Can I see your hand? Praise be to Allah. How many of you accept this truth? And let's make it, oh, the hands are up. How many of you want to unite? How many of you want to be a part of a loving brotherhood and a loving system, become a part of your nation of Islam? Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. It's time for the black man and woman to unite. May I shake your hand? May I extend my hand to your hand on behalf of your brother and our friend, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Would you give me that honor? My sisters have raised their hand. My brothers, all of you stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Let the world see you. Let the world know this is the day that the black man and woman is rising to accept their own and to be themselves. Come on, my dear brothers and sisters, let us unite. Let us unite. Our unity is more powerful than an atomic or nuclear weapon. The enemy has always tried to divide us and pit us one against the other. We are all God's people.
All praise is due to Allah. At this time, brothers and sisters, make your way down the center aisle. Minister Ishmael Muhammad is extending his hand on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to welcome you to your nation of Islam. All praise is due to Allah. This is your time, brothers and sisters. This is the hour. Minister Ishmael's message was very sobering, but much needed at this time. Make your way down the center aisle and take that leap of faith. Join on to your brothers, join on to your sisters. And let's begin to change the condition of ourselves first and foremost, but our community and our nation. Come on, brothers and sisters, I know we can do better than that. We got all these beautiful black men lined up down this middle aisle, ready to make a change in their life, become better individuals. This is what the work is all about. This is what we live for, sacrifice for, breathe for. Welcome home, family. Welcome home. Brothers and sisters, don't wrestle with yourself. Some of you are still sitting in your seats, but you got that internal battle going on. Where the weaker side of yourself is saying, I don't know if I should do it, but the stronger side is saying, I know I should stand up. Let that strong man or that strong woman win. Don't succumb to the weaker side of ourselves. Look, we got young brothers, young sisters, old brothers, old sisters, brown brothers, black brothers. We got a little bit of everything. And this is all your home, your nation of Islam. All praise is due to Allah. Let's just exercise a little patience, family. This is well worth the wait. Each person that you see in this bow tie and these garments, we had to do the exact same thing. And we can personally bear witness that when we made this decision and began that journey, that our life changed and improved for the better. All praise is due to Allah. If you look into the faces of these beautiful brothers, you'll see the burden being lifted, and that is because of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This is the peace that we should experience every day in our lives, in our communities. This is what we all are striving for. Can you bear witness, family, that your spirit is a little bit higher now that you've heard that beautiful lecture? All praise is due to Allah. Just a few more, brothers and sisters. Let's show our love. All praise is due to Allah. Come on, brothers and sisters, can we give one Allahu Akbar? Allahu Akbar means God is the greatest. All praise is due to Allah.
Let us, I don't have the list, but every believer that invited a guest here today to hear the message, thank you so very much for fulfilling your duty, because that's our duty. Nothing concerns Allah, His Christ, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan more than His suffering people. And we cannot sit in these seats in self-negation. Good, you stop smoking. You stop drinking. You don't commit adultery. You're not fornicating, right? Please don't answer. But the point is, it's good for you. But at the end of all of that cleaning up, see, we are supposed to be the example and the magnetic attraction for our people and give them the heart of God, because our people is the sole purpose for which God came. So I thank all of you, Brother Warren, the lieutenants, all of you that invited these beautiful sisters, these strong brothers here today. Thank you so very much. And to all of my Spanish-speaking brothers and sisters, once again we say, bienvenido, somos una familia, somos tus hermanos, and translated in English it is, see ya. No, we're family, and we're brothers and sisters. The brown members of our family, that's family. All of El Chapo's people, that's family. No, right? You see, my man is waving his hand. That's our family. We cannot let the enemy divide us along those lines, okay? So we must continue to strengthen the ties of relationship and our unity with our Native American family and our Latino and Hispanic family. We're all one people, the original and aboriginal native people of the planet, okay? You have a wonderful afternoon. God bless you. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, I would like to take this privilege, this pleasure, to give you and extend to you greetings from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan of Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. And if it be the will of Allah, this Wednesday, for all of the registered members of the Nation of Islam, he will speak to us live in person right here from Mosque MARYAM. So make sure you're on time, that we may respect his presence with our presence, to be on time to hear what Allah has put on his heart for us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
One more time, brothers and sisters, for Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad and the beautiful lecture that he delivered. We're near the end of our program, brothers and sisters. We ask that at this time, everyone just have a seat for a brief moment. This is the portion of our program dedicated to charity, or what is called zakat. In the scriptures, it always encourages you to give out of what Allah has blessed us to receive back in the cause of righteousness, freedom, justice, and equality. So at this time, the receptacles are coming around the aisle. We ask that you reach into your purses, into your pockets, and whatever Allah puts on your heart to give, that you give at this time. While those receptacles are going around, brothers and sisters, we encourage you all to come out throughout the week to your weekly meetings. On every Monday night at 7:30 p.m., we have our men's class. Here in Chicago, it's next door at Muhammad University of Islam, but across the country, if you just do a Google search of your local Muhammad mosque or study group, you'll be able to find the brothers and sisters that are near you. We encourage all brothers to come out every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. We have a class. It's a lot less formal. We go over some information. We share brotherhood. We build. We strategize about how we can positively affect ourselves and our communities in a much better fashion. On Saturdays, we have a class like that for our sisters. That is at 9 a.m., the MGT and GCC class. Sisters, you can come out to your local mosque or study group at 9 a.m. and learn all about what it is to be a righteous woman of God and your expectations and what God demands of you in this time and hour. We have a few weekly meetings on Wednesdays and Fridays every week at 7:30 p.m. We have a lecture on Wednesdays and a study session on Fridays. We encourage you all to come out. Of course, this Wednesday, we're expecting to hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So that is a believers-only meeting. But normally, every other Wednesday, we have our lecture series. With that being said, brothers and sisters, we always encourage you to pick up your latest edition of the Final Call newspaper. You can find them out in the lobby after we close out in prayer. And then we also encourage you to get the digital version as well, where you can download the articles, listen to it audibly on your digital devices, your iPads or your iPhones or whatever you may have. And you can find that at digital.finalcall.com. Again, that's digital.finalcall.com. And if you learned something from today's lecture, we encourage you to go back, visit us online at noi.org, share that link out, send it to your friends, upload it on your social media, and just let people know that it all went down here today at Mosque MARYAM. With that being said, brothers and sisters, we have a few extra announcements for the local Chicago present believers, but we're going to close out our webcast first. So let's end in prayer, and then I'll give those two local announcements right after prayer. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we worship, and thine aid do we seek. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, and not the path of those whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for tuning in via webcast. Brothers and sisters locally.
Are you tired of corporate-controlled media? Then it's time to subscribe to a new way of gaining access to independent and timely news coverage. Introducing the Final Call Digital Edition. The Final Call Digital Edition is on the cutting edge of print news delivery. The Final Call Digital Edition carries in-depth reporting and thought-provoking analysis of both national and international news. Get out of the old and get into the new. Subscribe to Final Call Digital Edition at digital.finalcall.com.